All right, I'm going to get started. Today is day 21, as it says, of our online Rankin Technical College AWD 1100 C# programming class. All right, and I just finished a meeting with the other AWD instructors from the St. Louis campus. All right, as I was saying, I just finished up a meeting at with the instructors from the St. Louis campus. Now, they told me something. I've been here, it'll be 8 years in July, and they told me something that I have never been told before. So I'm going to share that with you. But first, let me tell you, other than the test yesterday, and other than the chapter 6 to 7 homework, which is due Sunday, everything else has been graded. All right, I was upgrading last night, and I was grading this morning. That said, there are 16 people in the class. Many people either did not turn in homework, all right, for chapters 4 and 5, or the homework they turned in was marginal at best. So many people ended up failing that. And since it was worth 100 points, 50 points for the chapter 4, the first half, 50 points for chapter 5 for the second half, that adversely affected a lot of people's grades. All right, what do I mean? There are 16 people in this class. All right, out of the 16 people currently, all right, 11 people are failing. All right, which is a bad reflection on me. Though 4 people have A's and 1 person has a C. All right. Now, as soon as those people get their homework in for chapters 4 and 5, their grade will go back up because most of them were doing just fine before that. So I mentioned this during our meeting today. And what one of the other instructors, I asked the Doug Gagelman, who is teaching the C# class in the classroom, I asked him how his class was going. He's got 26 people in there. So he's got 10 more than I do, but he does have them in a classroom setup. And he said, by and large, it's going very well. He said there's a couple people where this is their first class and they're struggling, but by and large, he's been very happy with the grades. And then I said, oh, that's great. And he goes, yeah, and those who are struggling or have struggled, we have them do the retakes anyway. And I was like, wait a minute. What's a retake? I have been here, like I said, 7.5 years. Nobody ever talked to me about retakes. So Mr. Gudmstead, who is the department chair, he took over and he said, no, we started this about a year or so ago, even though no one told me, but that's okay. And I said, well, how do you do this? And this is what they told me, that let's say you take a test and you fail it. You can retake the test, okay? Now, in order to retake the test, you must have completed successfully every lab assignment or homework assignment for that. So in other words, let's say that student Mary had failed the chapters 4 through 5 test. And now here's this and says, well, geez, I'd like to retake it. First of all, is it the same test? The answer is yes. All right. Second, well, how long do they have to work on it, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk about that in a second. But before you're eligible to retake that test, you must completely finish the homework. And the homework must all be correct. All right. It must all be correct. You must have done every assignment on there correctly. And once you've done that, you can send me an email and say, hey, I'm ready to retake this test. Then it'll kind of work the way it has in the past. Meaning, all right, from the time you send me the email, you'll have basically 24 hours, all right, to complete the test and turn it back in. And you're eligible for up to 90%. You can get a 90 on it. So this is changing more to a competency-based thing. All right, so Mary takes the test again, and she does better, all right, but she still didn't get 100% on it. Can she take it again? The answer is yes. We'll let you retake it, or take it and then retake it and retake it again if you want to. The problem with doing that, though, is it's very easy then for people to fall behind. Because if you're sitting there and you're taking the chapters 4 and 5 tests 2 or 3 times, all right, then what about the 6 and 7? And now today we were supposed to go into chapter 8. We're finishing this book. As the saying goes, come hell or high water. We're going to finish this book. We're going to spend more time on some chapters than others, but we're going to finish the entire book. You need the material that's in this entire book in order to be successful in the AWD1100 class, the 1115 class, the database-driven web development 2 class, because in there you learn how to create C# programs that run instead of desktop apps like we're running now in Windows Forms apps and console apps. In that class, you create web apps, ones that literally you can put out onto a website. But you need to understand and accrue all the knowledge from this book before you go on. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draft some kind of, I don't know, Word document today, once I get done with this lecture, explaining this in detail. All right. But one thing, as I said, that Mr. Gudmist said to me, no, students are not eligible to retake the test until they have successfully completed all of the homework assignments, and they're correct. All right. And what that will do is that, what I believe at least that will do, is that will take a lot of you who are marginally, maybe failing, I don't know, and bring you up with a 90%. You can very well get a B in the class, if not a B plus. All right. Like I said, if somebody had told me about this earlier, I'd have put it in my semester or in my syllabus, and I'd have told you about it from day one. All right. And I'm not blaming them. Maybe they just thought that I already knew about this policy, even though I didn't. All right. So think about this. You know where you are because you are able to go in. You are able to go in and look at the grades that you've gotten so far. So we're going to start this with chapters 4 and 5. So look at your chapters 4 and 5 homework. All right. And you might say, well, I got a 35, but I'm not sure why. You probably can figure out why, to be honest with you. You either had problems that you did incorrectly, incompletely, or didn't do at all. All right. So you'd have to go back and redo those. Once you've redone those, then you can go back and you can retake the test. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some time to assimilate or let this sink in. I'm going to write up something. I'm going to run it by Mr. Gudmist and Mr. Gegelman, all right, to make sure that what I'm doing is in jive with what they're doing. All right. And then I will send that out to you sometime this morning. Now, this is not a long tape. Hell, I've only been going for 10 minutes, and I'll go for probably 5 more minutes. The rest of the period today and all period tomorrow will be lab. So you know where you are, all right? The other thing I want to say is, just so you're aware of this, and you've heard me say this kind of thing before. Yesterday was the chapters 6 and 7 hands-on test, okay? Well, I know that at least some people didn't turn it in. Most people did turn it in, all right? I was online from 8 o'clock yesterday until 12 o'clock. After that, between 12 o'clock and about 7 o'clock, I would be checking. Literally, I would go into the bedroom where I've got the computer set up every 10 to 15 minutes, and if people had emails, I'd get back to them. At about 7:30, at first I thought, I don't know if I had food poisoning or what, but I had a very, very severe stomachache, all right, that went away pretty much in about an hour. So between about 7:45 and 8:30, I was, for lack of better words, kind of incapacitated. All right. But then from 8:30 until 10, I literally stayed in the bedroom, and any emails that came in, I tried to answer them right away. All right. I mentioned this to the guys in our meeting today, and they're like, well, you know, students shouldn't complain if, it takes 45 minutes especially if you didn't feel well. I said, yeah, but it's a test day. And yeah, I try to turn around emails right away. All right. But like I said, with this, it was not possible to do. And I'm sorry about that. All right. All right. Finally, if there's something we're not doing in here that you think we should be doing in here, feel free to send me an email. All right. I even talked to them today, to the guys in the class. The way that this whole thing came about is, I said I was thinking of going and kind of redoing the tests for the students. And right away I heard, no, don't do that. All right. And that was when they started talking about retakes. All right. But I'm not going to lie to you either. I was, for lack of better words, disappointed when I was grading the chapters 4 and 5 homework. Why? Because on those problems, and yeah, there were 10 of them, but I know that the vowel count, the chicken farmer or whatever it was, and I believe one other one, I did them in class. So if you would have just watched and coded along with that, you could have at least turned in those. But I was amazed over the fact that out of the 16 people in the class, I would guess upwards of 10 turned in nothing. All right. Well, since you turned in nothing, you know, that's what we based the test off of, is the homework. So I'd have to go back and check and see how people were doing on the homework. Now, I've had people email me and say, I'm having problems understanding the logic. I get the exit button and I get the clear button, but I don't get anything else. Well, I mean, the exit button and the clear button, there's not much to them. All right. You're either clearing something out or you're asking the person if they want to exit. As a programmer, you are paid to understand the logic of a situation. That's why I have been going over these problems right here. All right. The ones that are these extra exercises that are in the book. I've been going over those. I've done for you. All right. Before we had the test on 4 and 5, for example, I did these 5 problems. Before chapter 6 and 7 test, I did these 4 problems. They're all out there. All right. And the tests are based, at least loosely, on these. Plus, to try to make it easier for people to understand and comprehend, I've been doing those pre-tests, where I've been doing those from scratch. All right. And I know that people had Emily Malaby, who's our student success coordinator, told me that she had contacted a bunch of you when I sent out these early alert messages, and she heard from a lot of people it would be kind of nice if every week you would give a summary of what you've gone over. That's what I tried to do at the beginning of the week. But again, if there's something I am not doing, all right, please let me know. Send me an email. All right. And I will see if I can possibly incorporate it into the class. All right. There's, there are different ways that this can be taught. I will tell you, to my knowledge, Mr. Gegelman is teaching the exact same material that I am. He's giving the exact same test that I am. I'm not sure about the homework assignments, but he's doing things in class where he's coding and he's asking people to code along with him. All right, just the same kind of way that I'm doing it. So if I'm not doing something, like I said, let me know. All right. That's about all I can think of. So again, what I'm asking is to go back over your chapter 4 and 5 homework. If you didn't do well on the homework and you didn't do well on the test, go back and rework on the homework, and then tell me you want to retake the test. All right. And once your homework is okay, your homework grade will go up and you'll be eligible to retake the test. And then you could do the same thing for 6 and 7. Lastly, I will say I would strongly recommend that for Monday of next week, because I am going to go on, that you read chapter 8 in the book. It's a long chapter. It's about 50 pages. All right. And we're going to go over that. If we get it all done in one day, great. If we don't, then we don't. I'm going to do 2 array problems that I have created for you. All right. Then I'm going to do this one, extra 8-1, display the test scores using an array. You say, well, you already did this one, not using an array. Then in 8-2, you do the same problem, but instead of an array, you use what's called a list. The difference between an array and a list is that an array is fixed in size. So we're going to allow 10 tests to be entered here. If you try to enter an 11th test, you're going to get an error. Guess what? A new kind of exception that's called an index out of range exception. Lists work differently. We're going to set this up to hold 10 tests. Once you reach 10 with a list, if that's the size you gave it, and you try to add another one, the size of the list immediately doubles. So in other words, now it would hold 20 tests. As soon as I put in the 20th test and try to put in another one, it would double again to 40. So that's basically the difference between arrays, again, fixed in size, and lists, which are not fixed in size. The majority of our chapter in chapter 8, probably the first, out of 50 pages, the first 30 to 35 pages is on arrays, and the last 15 to 20 pages or so is on lists. So we will talk about both of them. Again, if you're really having trouble, and I realize, when people say to me, geez, I don't have time to do all this stuff, I get it. All right. I don't have time to do a lot of the stuff that I do to do either. But what you may want to do is go back and look at some of the previous lectures. All right. Especially when I'm coding, because hopefully that'll help you. And if you say, well, I don't have time to do that, then please remember that if you go out to my GitHub repo, that we have out there what? We have C# practice exercises. We have those C# All right, there's practice exercises, there's pre-tests. Oops, well, they are out there. I must have spelled it wrong. Yes, I did. All right, there are pre-tests, there are extra exercises. There is a lot of stuff out there. If you think, well, that's not out there, I can't find it, email me and let me know. I'll show you where it is. All right. In fact, I'll try to send that out on the email I'll send today. That I'll send out the thing that has the pre-tests, thing that has the extra exercises, and whatever else I have done that I put out there and made available for people. All right. Okay, that's about it. I'm going to draft this letter right now, run it by Mr. Gudmested, and once it's okayed by him, I will send that out to you. Very short lecture today, I realize 20 or 25 minutes. All right. Hopefully this gives some hope to some of you, especially if you're not doing that well in the class. All right. So with that, I'll leave you. Have a good weekend. I will talk to you at 8:05 on Monday. Thank you.